All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of D&D Deep Dive, the show where we dive deep into classes, subclasses, and other features of 5th edition D&D to help you get the most out of your choices. So, today we are going to continue with the other dragon-based subclass that was released in Unearthed Arcana a couple days ago now, which is the Ranger archetype, the Drakewarden. I have mentioned before in these D&D deep dives, the PHB Ranger is broken. It is significantly underpowered. The class abilities conflict with the archetype abilities. Like the whole thing is just not great. Now, when you get to Xanathar's guide, the new subclasses or ranger archetypes in Xanathar's went really far in the right direction to making the ranger a much more balanced and more fun class to play. So when looking at the Drakewarden, I'm going to be comparing it to the Xanathar's Guide subclasses simply because if it's only as good as the Hunter or the Beastmaster in the PHB, it's a failure. Neither of those subclasses are that much fun to play. Mechanically, they can't really compete with most other classes. So we'll see how this one goes. Now, to kind of remind everyone of how 5th edition works, I've said this many times. Every class should play uniquely. The things that make the class unique should show up within the first 2 levels. The Ranger kind of does that. The unique thing about Ranger is there's supposed to be this kind of forest hunter warrior, this nature-based warrior that has a particular affinity for hunting specific creatures. So they have things like their favored enemy built in to the class. They've got fighting styles built into the class, very similar to the fighter. They just have less fighting styles that they can choose from. And then they also have Natural Explorer, which is the really... Natural Explorer is really the only uniquely ranger thing. Yeah, favorite enemy technically is uniquely ranger as well, but it doesn't really do anything. Like the only thing it gives you is advantage on wisdom survival checks to track your favorite enemy and intelligence checks to recall information about them, meaning anyone with a high wisdom score can track almost as well as a ranger. So especially if they have someone aiding them, which automatically gives them advantage. So Natural Explorer is really the only thing that's uniquely Ranger, and it basically makes it easier outside of combat to travel. Beyond that, the Ranger gets... you have 2 different flavors of Ranger. You have ranged Rangers and dual-wielding Rangers. And they also get some spells. Hunter's Mark is a defining aspect of the character. It's one of the reasons I don't like it being a spell. I think it should be a character ability. But that's what they get at second level. They get their fighting style and they get their spell casting. And Hunter's Mark is their kind of defining feature. So, with that, there's not a ton of things that an archetype can really do to support that. They can make it easier to do something to their favorite enemy. Though again, because it already doesn't give you much, that doesn't mean anything. Or it could make it easier to travel, which you can't. Really, the only thing that these archetypes could do to supplement the base class is give them more abilities, and generally that's what you tend to see with the newer ranger archetypes. So the Drakewarden, literally, it's a ranger with a dragon companion. Pretty simple. Again, the Beastmaster Ranger is just not fun in general, because using your companion, you have to sacrifice your action to get it to attack and things like that. Like, it's just not fun. And I understand why they did that. Again, action economy is extremely important in 5th edition. Whichever side has the most actions has a significant advantage. So giving the ranger effectively 2 characters worth of actions would tip this as a scale. So the Drakewarden will have to deal with that. So let's actually dive into what you actually get as the Drakewarden. So right at the 3rd level, you get 2 things. You get Draconic Gift as the first thing at the 3rd level. It lets you speak, read, and write Draconic, and you also learn the Thaumaturgy cantrip, which counts as a ranger as a spell for you. Languages are always good. Draconic is, in general, a really good language, because there's a lot of monsters that actually speak Draconic. All kobolds speak Draconic. Dragons speak Draconic. And Draconic is considered a magic language in most D&D games because of the kind of magic bloodline that flows through dragons. That's how some sorcerers get their magic abilities, by having a Draconic ancestor. So always nice to have an extra language. Thaumaturgy is an interesting one. It's a cleric spell, and it's normally a cleric spell, and it basically allows you to do kind of very minor acts of God. Things like you can cause all the windows to close or open at the same time. You can increase the volume of your voice. Stuff like that. So in the idea of making them more dragon-like, I guess it kind of makes sense. They can use it to seem more draconic. Excuse me, there's something in my throat there. But beyond that, it just, I don't know. This seems just kind of like adding things just to add things. I don't think it adds a ton. I mean, the language fits, but the Thaumaturgy cantrip just doesn't seem to fit very well with the theme. The second thing you get at 3rd level is called Drake Companion. Effectively, you get a small dragon. Now, some unique things about this. The Drake Companion has a speed of 40 feet without flying or anything like that. So this is not currently a winged dragon, a wingling dragon. And then Trogdor, the Barninator. So yeah, originally this is literally a drake, which is kind of a draconic flightless lizard. The other interesting thing with Beastmaster Ranger, you always have your companion. With this, as an action, you can summon the drake. It does give a stat block for the Drake Companion, which we'll go over in just a second here. But it has its own stat block. You actually get to choose a damage type for it. Basically, whatever color dragon is will change what kind of damage it does and what kind of damage it has resistance to do. And in combat, the Drake shares your initiative count, but it takes its turns immediately after yours. This is something really, really common that you've been seeing with quote-unquote pet classes since this is Xanathar's Guide and a lot of Unearthed Arcana. Because it's not really fun to have a pet that effectively works would be the same whether it was there or not as far as actions are concerned. So this gives it its own actions and the things like that, its own initiative. It's just uses the same initiative as you, but it really makes it feel like an actual additional pet character instead of just being this other thing, or this extension of the ranger's actions. So it can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it takes on its turn is the dodge action, unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. This a lot of people have issues with that because again, it feels like you're handicapping it. For 5th edition, this is kind of necessary to be honest. I like that it takes your bonus action, not your action. So ranged rangers or bow rangers can do their normal stuff because bow rangers generally don't have a ton of use for their bonus action other than their hunter's mark. So as long as you're not switching over your hunter's mark, bow rangers never get to use their bonus action. This gives them a way to use it. Not only does it give them a way to use it, it gives them a way to use it that causes damage. It effectively gives them another attack, which is always useful. For dual wielding rangers, this doesn't really work. You have to choose between using your offhand weapon or using your companion. But that's just how it goes. And if you're incapacitated, the Drake can take any action of his choice, not just dodge. So if you're incapacitated, the Drake can keep on fighting, which is another kind of cool thing. Now, once you summon the Drake, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of 1st level or higher to summon it. So now this actually starts improving and adding on to some of the base ranger abilities. Rangers are half spellcasters. And other than Hunter's Mark, there's not a ton of spells that they use. And because Hunter's Mark is concentration, and a lot of other spells they might want to use are concentration, a lot of Rangers just never use their spell slots, other than they do get cure wounds, so they sometimes become an off healer when not in combat, or when someone needs to be brought back, they can heal. So this actually gives them another use for their spell slots, which is cool. It fits with the same thing that the Dragon Monk was doing, where they give you a use of something, and then if you want to use it more, you have to burn a resource. I think this fits better than the Dragon Monk did. Because again, monks already have tons of ways to use your key points. Rangers don't have a lot of ways to use their spell slots. They really don't. Their spell list just doesn't fit well with the class and how it's built. So, yeah, I like that. Now, the Drake remains for a number of hours equal to your proficiency bonus. Again, tying it to the proficiency bonus, I'm not a huge fan of that. I understand why they're doing it. It just seems to make it more complicated. But yeah, whatever. Tied to the proficiency bonus until it's reduced to 0 hit points, or until you use this feature to summon the Drake again, or until you die. Now, remember, when they say die, they don't mean go to 0 hit points. When you're at 0 hit points, the Drake's is still there. But if you actually die, even if someone revivifies you, the Drake disappears. And you have to summon it again. Anything the Drake was wearing or carrying is left behind when the Drake vanishes. So effectively, you've got this companion that's not always there. You can summon it for a few hours. Very, very similar to how Guinevere worked for Drizzt. He had a figurine of wondrous power of a black panther named Guinevere, and he could only use it for the magic only worked for a set amount of time per day. So he could only have his companion for a small amount at a time. This really reflects that almost identically, except it's not a figurine of wondrous power. So that little tie into older D&D lore, I really like. I think that's really interesting. The Drake Companion, it is a small dragon. Small means, I have to remember correctly. I think small means 2 of them can fit into a 5 foot square. It doesn't mean a ton for it. Being the difference between small and medium is so minor that it's not really a big issue. The difference between tiny and small is a big issue. But it does show that it is kind of shunk. It's a little bitty Drake. Its armor class increases with your proficiency bonus. Its hit points increase with your ranger level. It's trained in dex saves and wisdom saves, both of which are affected by your proficiency bonus. And it has this thing, Draconic Essence. When you summon the Drake, choose a damage type: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. Your basic 5 chromatic dragons. The chosen type determines the Drake's damage immunity, the damage of its bite, and the damage of its infused strikes to trait. We'll talk about the infused strikes in just a second. So it's immune to a certain type of damage. Its bite does that kind of damage, and the infused strikes we'll talk about in just a second. The bite itself, the 2 hits, is affected by the proficiency bonus. The damage is a 1d6 piercing damage plus your proficiency bonus damage of the Draconic Essence damage type. So it's not all elemental damage, but it is partially. Now, Infused Strikes is a special reaction that the Drake can do. Which is when another creature within 30 feet of the Drake that it can see hits with a weapon attack, the Drake infuses the strike with its essence, causing the attack to deal an extra 1d6 damage of the type associated, determined by its Draconic Essence. Basically, this Drake has a reaction it can almost always use, which is really, really useful. Again, whichever side has more actions is the side that's going to have the advantage in combat. And this means the Drake can always be using its reaction to be increasing the damage of the hunter or any one else. The nice thing about this is it specifically says hits with a weapon attack, not makes a weapon attack. It specifically says it hits, so you don't actually have to use this reaction until you see the attack hits, which leads to using crits differently. In 5th edition, when you roll a 20, it's on an attack roll, it's a critical hit. You roll double the number of dice you would normally roll for the attack. With this, if someone crits, the dragon can infuse the strike. And instead of adding 1d6, they now add 2d6 damage to that attack, in addition to anything else. Pairing this up with a paladin, which are already really, really crazy when crits happen, because they can crit, add on a smite, and then just do crap tons of damage. Well, now you can do even crap tons or more. The other thing that's nice, we mentioned before, it shares its initiative with the ranger, but it goes directly after the ranger. So what that means, you only get 1 reaction per turn, and you get your reaction back once you take your turn. So if the Drake doesn't use this reaction by the time the Ranger gets up, it effectively means it can always use it for the Rangers because not have to worry about missing out on a crit from someone else. But because the Ranger will take their attack, you can add on the Infuse Strike, and then it's immediately the Drake's turn. And the Drake gets to do whatever they did do on their turn, and then they get another round of having this Infuse Strike. There's no limit on the Infuse Strike as to how many times you can do it. It's just limited to the reaction. So this makes this companion really, really useful for the entire party. Something that Beastmaster Ranger companions simply don't have. They're generally only useful for the Ranger, and even then, they're not very useful. So that's the third level stuff. At 7th level, you get Bond of Fang and Scale, which just kind of improves everything about your connection with your Drake. While your Drake is summoned, so again, this only happens while the Drake is there. It's not all the time. You and the Drake gain the following benefits. You gain resistance to the damage type chosen for the Drake's Draconic Essence. Now, the Drake already has immunity to that damage type. So that doesn't change the Drake at all, but it does change you. The other thing that's nice about this that we haven't really talked about is every time you summon the Drake, you choose. You don't have to choose when you first get this class. It's every time you summon it. So this can, when you combine it with Bond of Fang and Scale, this can be used in a kind of defensive manner. You're going up against a dragon with fire breath, or you're going up against a creature that does a lot of poison damage. Summon your Drake, given the poison ability, and you have resistance to poison damage. Things like that. Which also means when you summon it is really, really important. Simply because if you wait to summon it till when you really, really need it, you may find a monster you weren't suspecting, or the DM has, remade a monster to change things up to kind of challenge the party. Being able on the fly to just give yourself resistance to a damage type is a big deal. It's really, really useful. So that the other thing that's nice about that is that will actually feed into the favored enemy thing, because knowing what kind of damage a monster can do to you can actually help you when choosing the damage type of the Draconic Essence. So yeah, this is actually helping an ability that's actually not really that useful in 5th edition. So really cool. In addition to that, choose one of the following. The Drake gains a swimming speed of 40 feet and can breathe both air and water, or the Drake goes wings and gains a flying speed of 40 feet. Again, this is a kind of choice thing. I can't really see anyone choosing the swimming speed unless you are actively underwater when you summon the Drake. Wings and flying speed are just so much more useful. But yeah, now you have a wingaling dragon Trugdar. Always nice to have that. And then the last thing, the Drake's Bite attack deals an additional 1d6 damage of the type chosen for its Draconic Essence. So now the Bite does even more damage. Now remember, on its turn, it can't take any action other than the dodge unless you use your bonus action to command it to take an action, which can include its Bite. So effectively, especially with a bow ranger, you can fire to twice with your bow, because by 5th level you get extra attack. So you fire 2 shots with the bow, then bonus action to do an additional 2d6 plus proficiency bonus at that point, I think, is plus 3. So 2d6 plus the 3 damage. That's not a bad amount of damage to do. Especially since you can add another d6 onto one of your bow strikes. This is starting to become a pretty powerful class. Not to the point where it's broken or anything like that. I think this actually brings it up to being competitive with fighters and not rogues, because they're nuts. But definitely with fighters, which are kind of the big competition as far as like weapon based fighting classes, like the ranger. Anything the base PHB ranger can do, a fighter generally can do better. So this is so yeah. I like that. At 11th level, you get Drake's breath. As an action, you can exhale a 30-foot cone of damaging breath or cause your Drake to exhale it. So this is an action, not a bonus action. Each creature in the cone must make a dex save against your spell save DC, taking 66 damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one, and it increases to 8d6 at 15th level. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of 3rd level or higher to use again. So the spell Fireball is 8d6 damage. So this is effectively a free Fireball for the Ranger, which again can be just extremely useful. Rangers in general don't have a ton of area of effect kind of damage they can do. They have a few spells that do it, but none of them do it that well. Or they can just shoot 2 different targets, but they tend to be really good at single target damage. This actually gives them, not only does this give them an area attack they can use it from their square or from their Drake's square. So that adds a lot of versatility, which is really, really useful. And again, this gives them other uses for their spell slots. Again, I'm not saying Rangers don't have useful spells. There's things like Conjure Animals is can be pretty useful, but again, you have to give up your Hunter's Mark in order to use it. There's other like higher level ones, like I think it's 5th level. They get I think it's Quick Quiver, which lets them just shoot like crazy, which again is really nice. But one of the defining aspects of the Ranger is the Hunter's Mark, which is also concentration. So you have to kind of pick and choose. This gives them a really useful ability that doesn't require concentration that they can use some of their spell slots for. So yeah, I like that. 15th level, you get Perfected Bond. While your Drake is summoned, your Drake gains the following benefits. The Drake grows to large size. It goes from small to large. Large fills up a square 10 feet on a side. So this is your more average adult-sized dragon. Yeah, I'd have to look. It's either adult or a young dragon, but it's larger than a whelp. Let's put it that way. So this is now a big dragon. A creature that is large or bigger can actually be ridden as a mount if it actually has the that kind of ability. So think of it as like a horse-sized dragon now. In addition to it being large, the Drake's bite attack deals an extra 1d6 damage of the type chosen for its Draconic Essence for a total of 2d6 extra damage. That means the bite attack now does a d6 of piercing damage and then 2d6 plus, what is this, 15? 15. 2d6 plus 5 damage. That's pretty good. That's a total of 3d6 plus 5 damage in 2 different damage types for a bonus action. I mean, that's really, really good. And then when either you or the Drake takes damage while you're within the 30 feet of each other, you can use your reaction to give yourself or the Drake resistance to that instance of the damage. So that's effectively the rogue's. I can't remember what the ability's called right now. Oh, I feel so dumb. Uncanny dodge. That's what it could be called. That's effectively uncanny dodge for you or the Drake. Which again is useful because now the ranger has a reaction it can use. Which is even more useful for bow rangers because most classes, the only reaction you will use is your opportunity attack. Bow rangers aren't getting opportunity attacks. They're too far away from the bad guys, and they don't generally use melee weapons. So they're not going to be able to do opportunity attacks. This actually gives them a use for their opportunity attack, and it makes their Drake a lot tankier. It helps them as well, but if you're sending your Drake into the middle of the bad guys, with this, they can take a lot more punishment. At this point, their AC is, I think it's 19 at this point. So they're pretty hard to hit. They do a decent amount of damage. They can do a dragon breath attack. If needed. It's a pretty useful thing at this point. And they can fly or swim, but probably fly unless you're running, I don't know, an underwater campaign. If you're the Little Mermaid Ranger, I don't know. But yeah, so final thoughts on this. This is a really good class. If you watched my last video, I was not thrilled about the Dragon Monk. It fought against the core monk class and the abilities that the monk gets. It had all these new things that didn't really fit the monk theme. It made things a lot more complicated. This didn't. It added some new things. They really have a hard-on for this proficiency bonus the thing. I don't know why. I think that makes it a little bit more complicated than it needs to. Because while there is a spot on your character sheet for your proficiency bonus, I don't know a lot of people that actually fill that in. They will just, everywhere else on your character sheet, you will just write in +7, +8, or whatever that is. Most people don't even think about their proficiency bonus after they've figured out what their attack rolls and stuff are. So, yeah, I don't know why they've got this hard on for the proficiency bonus, but beyond that, this is a really solid class. It deals with the issue of a ranger companion unbalancing the game, because now the ranger is effectively playing to the two characters by having the bonus action control the actions of the companion, while still giving the companion things to do with its reaction that make it a very valuable member of the team. The only thing I don't like about this, and it's really not I guess I phrased that wrong. It's not that I don't like this. The only thing I wish this class had, and this is really just a failing of the Ranger class in general, that they haven't been able to fix at all, is dual-wielding Rangers really are not going to do well with this particular archetype. Their offhand attacks are always going to be better if they use their Drake companion instead of whatever they have in their offhand attack. Dual-wielding Rangers in 5th edition are just not very good at all. In general, you can do a lot more. If you want to be a melee ranger, you can do a lot more damage with a two-handed weapon than you can dual-wielding. The only thing that benefits them is Hunter's Mark does damage every time you hit, so dual-wielders do get an extra blink of Hunter's Mark. And that's it. And none of the archetypes for Ranger ever do anything to really help that out. So that's my only kind of wish for this is I wish they had done something that gave the dual wielding rangers a reason to choose this, because like I said when I mentioned Guinevere, this really mimics the Drizzt archetype and the experience of playing Drizzt. Like this really easily could be flavored as a way to play Drizzt without needing a pretty rare magic item. I like the class. It's definitely for bow hunters. It's not really for dual wielders. But if you're a bow ranger, this would be a really fun class to play, even without the changes that Tasha's is invariably going to bring with the alternate abilities that they've already revealed are going to be a part of Tasha's. So, yeah, I like this. I really like it. I think as it is right now, I think it's fairly balanced. I would let someone play this at my table. Obviously, some of the damage and stuff like that, I would want to see how it plays out and see if it needs any nerfing. But that would be playtesting stuff. I think in the theory, this is a great, solid class. And I would love to see this theme taken a bit further so that it's not only Draconic. Like I would love to see a beast excuse me. I would love to see a Beastmaster Ranger that had very similar abilities. Maybe just change Drake's Breath to something else, depending on the creature type. But yeah, I love this. I think it's great. In the comments below, let me know, first of all, what's your favorite dragon color? Are you a chromatic person? Are you more into the metallic dragons? Do you like the gem dragons? But let me know if you were running this ranger, what color dragon would you pick as your default when you weren't using it as kind of a strategic thing? You were just bringing it out and it didn't have any strategic advantage. What would be your go-to color? As always, if you enjoy this, please hit the like button. It does a lot. Other than just letting me know you like this, it helps other people to see this as well. If you are enjoying this, please hit that subscribe button. I try to put out at least 2 videos per week, and as soon as Tasha's comes out, there will be a ton of content here. So definitely check that out. Also, feel free to hit that notification button so anytime I do release a new video, you know about it and you don't miss it. Otherwise, that's all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right, bye bye.